Okay, we're going to have a go today at making a bug hotel or bug habitat. There's a couple of different ways we can do this. One way is we can use a box. We can put the box onto the work plane. We can use the left-hand mouse button to pull it out. We can use the right-hand mouse button to rotate it. We can use the center scroll button to zoom in and out, or if we hold on the center button, we can move the plane so we can see it more clearly further away. Again, my left-hand mouse button I can use to increase the depth. If I click on the top white one, I can make it deeper. If I pull on this one, the cone, it will actually take it off the ground, which is useful, but we can't print if it's floating in the air. Again, I can rotate it back using the right-hand mouse button. Now, one type of bug hotel could be that it's a block, and within that there are a whole series of hollow spaces. So we can use things like the cylinder tool. If you pull the cylinder tool into different surfaces, it will go at different angles, so it's quite nice. The cylinder tool is also quite good because the 3D printer will be able to still print the roof above it, because each one only goes slightly out into the void. Now, if I'm printing something like a cylinder, one of the things I can do with the cylinder is I can click on the white block here to make it much bigger, and then I can use the cone to push it back. Now, if I don't push it in too far, so it goes out the other side, and I then highlight the whole thing and press group, what you can see is I create a hollow space inside there. And if I use a whole series of different cylinders, we can make different sizes, maybe for different kind of mini beasts or different sizes of mini beasts. We can push that back in. If you want to build a kind of maze system, you can do the same the other way and push it onto the other side. Again, if we rotate this around a little bit, make that a bit smaller. Again, like we did with the previous one, we can pull it forward so it's longer, and then use the cone, scroll back a bit, to push it back in. And this one will actually now make a hole through the existing one. Again, highlight the whole thing, group it, and you can see you've now got an increasing network of small tunnels within there that actually cut into each other, which might make a more interesting habitat. You can use things like the text box, and if we use the text on here, we can create something like bug hotel, and that could come out the front, so that might be part of it, or it could be a hole. And if we pull the size in a little bit so it's a little bit more relevant on size, and we can rotate that around a little bit so we can see it from the side, we can drag that upwards, make it taller, maybe bring this one up a bit. If we make this a little deeper, one of the things we can do now is you can use the cone to push it back into the block so the writing itself becomes part of the habitat. If we select that, we can group it. And again, eventually once that applies, you'll see we'll get a hollow space appearing within it. There we go. Now there's still space here to add on. We could add different bits that might either maintain moisture. This one will allow us to create a kind of our own shape, which again could be solid or it could be a hole. So once more we can rotate it around a little bit to see it from different sides. So we could make that a bit deeper. Again, if we go a little bit further out. Okay, we could then take this side and push that back inside. Once again, selecting the whole thing, grouping it. We start to end up with a more interesting selection. I've only done one side here, and obviously this could be done in different ways. That could be one way in which you can make a bug hotel. Another way could be that, like when people have made them outside, we make them using cylinders. So we can go onto the cylinder option, and we can take a cylinder, and we can just make the cylinder very tall. And then if we take a hollow cylinder and put that within the first cylinder, again we'll have to make it a bit smaller. Make sure that that's not cutting out the side on any of them. And then if we drag this upwards so we can see the top of it, so make it a lot taller, and then use the cone to push it back into the first one and highlight them both, we can make kind of one hollow cylinder, which when it's laid down could become part of our bug hotel. Rotate it around again so we can see, so it's still got a solid base on it. If I Control A and select the whole thing and do Control C and Control V, we can now make duplicates of that. So we could have a whole series of these kind of cylinders touching together. They could be part of our bug hotel. They may go with the bit we did before. We can also make them different sizes. So we can take the cylinder we've created and make an extra one. I can do the same thing again. We can drag that on and we can start to make some shapes here. We can take the big one again, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And we can start to make what might be part of our bug hotel. Maybe we still want to connect in some sort of main cube, main block in there, and again that might have hollow sections in, or it might just help it stand up. Once again, we could use the writing on there to label it and to make it a little bit more interesting. We'll use that as once again as a whole. I'm going to take those corners and bring them in a little bit so it's a bit more appropriately sized. Rotating around with the right hand mouse button, moving it with the left hand mouse button, and again we can make this taller. We can push this back into the block. And if we select all of this, we can group it together so it becomes one plastic model. And once we've finished with this, we're going to have a go at trying to print some of these out and see how we can put these around the school grounds as potential bug hotels and see which ones grab some bits on. Obviously this isn't finished. We could make more cylinders, we could make more gaps, we could add some extra cubes in here that are taller. Maybe I'll make one here. Sometimes it's easier to see from different angles which one you're pulling, so it's worth using that center button and the right hand mouse button to try and change them around. And again we could use some cylinders on here, maybe change the size of those cylinders again so they're not so big. Once again rotate around so you can see it from the top, make it a little bit bigger, use the cone to push it in so we've got hollow bits there. Maybe we've got a hollow bit here, pull that one out, push that back in, and if we select all of this, we should be able to start to make what should be an interesting bug hotel, and we can then see what they look like when they print out. Just like that render. There we go. Okay, so that's a start. Maybe this isn't the best one, maybe you can come up with a better one, but just remember the same tools that we're talking about, using the 3 buttons on the mouse to control this as best we can. Okay, having designed our model on TinkerCAD of what our bug habitat is going to look like, we're now using the 3D printer to start to print it out. You can see this takes a little bit of a while to go through. At the moment the 3D printer is building it up layer by layer. And we're trying to use PLA on this. This is a PLA with a bit of a wood mix in it. It'll take about 2 years to biodegrade, so it's not terrible for the environment, particularly because PLA is not actually made of plastic and oil.